Doing Duff here. This is actually a 3D maintenance video. This is my CR10S Pro, and it has become problematic with it jamming, and I've learned from past experience, and this will not be everyone's approach. In the past, I used to fuss around a lot with the nozzle and try to see exactly what's making it clog in the filament path. I spent a lot of time doing that when I first got into the hobby. Now I don't so much because I can go out and buy a whole new complete hot end assembly for like 30 bucks on Amazon, and that's what I do. That's what I have been doing. No bubbles, no troubles. It's good for a long time, and I'm good to go. So this is going to be me replacing a hot end assembly on my CR10S Pro. So to do this, it's not very difficult. There's normally your setup looks like this, and you're going to be removing a screw here and a screw here. Once you do that, this will come out of the way. The hot end itself, sorry, I should have taped this as I was doing it, but I just decided to shoot this at the last second. The hot end itself gets mounted like this, and there's two screws here that hold it onto the carriage. I've taken those out already, so that's where I'm at in the process. So we are now going to be moving our attention to back here, because that is where all these wires run through this sleeve here, this cable management sleeve. And to get to it, we need to take off this little cover. And if I remember, because I've done this once before, if I replace the whole hot end assembly and it gets me, 6-7 months of trouble-free printing, I'm good to go. It's worth 30 bucks for me to do that, as opposed to spending a lot of time and effort troubleshooting the problem to a higher degree. I'm sure there'll be people in the comments that'll say that's ridiculous, but I'm just being honest, guys. Alright, so it's those two, and then there's one down here. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, maybe. One underneath. And what this does is get you access to the board where all of these connections plug in. And be careful to not drop the screw like I just did. Luckily it didn't fall off the table. Okay, set that aside. So the hot end itself has the actual thermistor cables and then the heater cables. So those are the ones that you're going to have to disconnect and reroute through the wire loom. So let's see if we can find those. Okay, here is the. Probably could use better lighting here, right? Still might not be great, but here is the hot end cable. So we just carefully remove that, and then the thermistor is this. It's the white wires, so it's right here. And I was afraid of that. All right, yeah, that was my bad. If you don't actually push the little lever to release the connector, you'll wind up pulling the base out with it, which is what I just did. But so of course, pay attention to where you pulled it from, because you want to connect it in the same spot. So now these are loose. Turn this off for a second. Now that these are loose, this whole deal should just pull right through the loom. And sometimes it's a little tricky getting these through. Usually I have better success if I pull one wire through first and then the other, because they can't get snagged on other wires or just get hung up in the loom material themselves. Alright, there you go. Old hot end here. And typically I'll hold on to this just in case if I ever want to, like the heater cartridge is fine. I could pull that out if I wanted to, or if I needed to. So I'll hold on to that just in case. Here's my brand new hot end. Looks familiar, right? Where did we're going to move across the silicone sock. If you don't have one of these silicone socks in your hot ends, it really is a lifesaver in a situation where you have a horrendous, like say that your printer is unattended in printing and something goes wrong, and if you've been 3D printing for any appreciable amount of time, you've had the situation where you have like a huge blob forms around your hot end, making it a terrible, terrible mess. And the advantage of having a silicone sock like that is I've had several times where that's happened to me, where I had an absolute mess in the hot end, and I was able to just pull it cleanly off after heating the hot end. I lost the sock. The sock was encased inside of all that plastic, but the rest of the hot end was okay, because I've also had that situation without a silicone sock, and the hot end was such a freaking mess that I just threw it out. And, you know, it was not salvageable. So I'm a believer in these silicone socks now. Okay, so yeah, this hot end's nice. I mean, it comes with the high quality PTFE tubing. All the wires are there, so all I really need to do is feed these wires back through the wire loom. I won't make you watch me do that. It's just a slow and steady process. Usually it's made easier if you take this and just kind of compress the loom. When you compress the loom, you might be able to tell that it actually gets wider. It's actually easier to force things through when the loom is compressed. So let me get these through and I'll be right back with you when I'm done. Just got the thermistor cable pulled through. So now I need to get these hooked back in to where they came from. Okay, there's your hot end. And let's get the thermistor back. It's a little challenging to see what you're doing here. And again, make sure that you take, especially with this thermistor cable, it's the same as the connector is the same as some other connectors on this board, so you could potentially plug it into the wrong thing. Let me get it in here. Okay, just for reference sake, right there is the thermistor. That's where it goes. It goes right behind the connector with the two black wires. The heater, the cartridge heater, goes all the way here, right against the stepper motor. So I'm not putting that cover on just yet until I make sure everything is working, because if there is a problem, I would have to just remove that cover again. So we'll just make sure, and that we're going to mount this. Like I said, I'm sure some people are going to be poo-pooing my approach to this, to just kind of rip out the entire hot end instead of trying to troubleshoot the issue. And I don't know if I was clear. The issue was I was getting progressive under extrusion to the point where it would actually clog. It would start out fine. You know, I cleared it. It would start out fine, and then maybe 45 minutes into the print, it would under extrude, and then stop feeding altogether. That is the whole genesis of this problem. And like I said, I've had something very similar happen before, and actually more than once before. And I've taken the approach where I tried to troubleshoot the shit out of it. And sometimes I was successful, sometimes I was not. But it was time consuming. So I'm at the point where sometimes my time is more valuable than $30. So that's why I'm doing it this way. Trying to just fix the problem and save time. Okay, well, obviously I wasn't paying as close of attention as I should. The hot end wires have to go up as well. I originally had them underneath the axis here. That has to go up above with all the other wires. So I have it in there. I just need to clean them up, route them so they're in a better position, and then we'll tie this up so it's not a problem. I find that this magnetic T-driver that I have is very, very helpful in these situations. And I get the bolts started. This has been a very valuable tool for me in various 3D repairs. Alright, so that is back on. So before I go any further, before I start tie wrapping and doing any of that kind of stuff, I want to hook this up to power and just make sure that I'm able to bring the hot end up to temperature. Because if I can't, that means that there's something wrong, and that means I would have to do this all over again. So let's just throw it up here temporarily, plug it in, and see if the hot end will heat. We have reached our operating temperature in a very short amount of time, so that means the new hot end is working. I have the printer back down on my work surface now to remount the little guard. Again, this T-nut driver is magnetic T driver is very handy in getting in screws in locations like this. Holds it in place and snug it in, and we're good. Alright, one more screw and we're good. And we'll put it back on the table, and then it's all just loading some filament and seeing how it prints. I just want to mention I have the printer back on the bench here. The only other part I had to move across to the new print head assembly was the fitting here for the extruder. You do have to move that across as well. So I moved my silicone sock and I moved my little collet here. So now I have the printer up to temperature and I'm loading some filament in. The filament is coming out the bottom. That's a lovely sight. So now I'm going to try to start a print. And I'm going to, normally you could go through the whole leveling process again. I'm going to see how lucky I get and if it actually is still leveled like it was. It should be, but let's see. I'm going to start the print, see how it turns out, and I will report back in a jiff. Just wanted to mention here, you see my wonderful Anycubic Curon sitting here, and yeah, this is its primary function most of the time. It serves as a table. Yeah, it still works. I can't trust the damn thing. I've had too many long prints that just mysteriously die because of, more than likely, just because of the shitty cabling that they used in this printer. You know, I already have the strain relief up here, and this little deal that's supposed to keep the wire chain from possibly bumping this little connector here. But yeah, I just don't trust the thing, unfortunately. It's too bad. Alright, the 10S Pro is getting ready to print. We'll let it put down a couple layers and just make sure it looks okay. Okay, the print has started. You can see I was getting this weird under extrusion in the beginning, and I looked up and this tube was popped out of the extruder. I didn't have the Bowden tube seated all the way into the extruder, and then I also added the little clip on the collet just to make sure it doesn't come loose. So we are now officially printing, and we'll be back later to see how it all turns out. Okay, print's going fine. This has been a success. This has been a success. This is further than I've gotten on my my last several prints when the problem developed, so I would call it good to go. If you found this video interesting, please give it a big thumbs up. If this is your first time visiting the channel, please consider subscribing. If you're going to subscribe, you can hit the notify bell. It's over there somewhere. You could be watching this on my main Duff channel or on my 3D channel. I do have a dedicated 3D channel if you didn't know that. So, yeah. Feel free to leave your comments, suggestions, ideas, and thoughts below. And that's all I have for you for now. Until next time, Duff out.